This morning we're going to learn how to rename a field or key. And what this operation will do, the rename operation, is it actually will unset the old name and basically set the new name. That's really what's going on behind the scene. And of course you don't need to know that really, other than that's kind of what's happening here. So if we look at our database here, I'm going to rename a field for one of our items. So an ID 4, we have house and 441 7th Street. So we understand that the key / field, and I use those are really the same term. Because these, like I said, JSON is very arrayish for those of you who are in object-oriented programming. So house is, in this example with ID 4, is basically a key. But that being said, we can also call it a field, or if you're from the SQL world, this is the equivalent of a column. What we're going to do in this one is we're going to actually rename that field to address instead of house. So we're going to call our update command, and fast data update. And then we're going to specify, first of all, the field that we're going to update, which is ID 4. Now, one of the things to note here is that this, in the world of, for those of you who are coming from SQL, this would be the equivalent of the where clause in this update here, okay? So when we're updating this, if I say ID equals 4, I'm saying I'm going to update only ID equals 4. And that's very similar in the world of SQL when you're trying to sit there and say, I'm only going to update these values. Or sometimes, as many of you know, we will do a join, and that join in its own way filters the data. Okay, now we're going to update the field address, the field house, and we're going to update it to the field name address, or key name. Okay, so how the syntax is basically we're going to specify which we're going to update, then we're going to, after the comma, we're going to pass in what we're going to update it to. And like I said, if you're used to SQL, it may feel a little backwards because, as you know, the where clause comes last. The set comes before the where clause. But you can get familiar with the syntax pretty simple here. So we're going to be then renaming, and we're going to say, okay, it's called house, we're now going to call it address. And then we're going to perform the update. And then when we look through our data here, you will notice that address, in 4, it is no longer house but address. Now, keep in mind that when you do this operation, there may be some reordering of data. So whatever if you're, at least when you're querying it like that, you may have some data being reordered. And it makes kind of sense because what do you think has changed most recently? Obviously, post that update operation, that would have.